Celtics Stuff Live.
Welcome to Celtics Stuff Live on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider of audio and video coverage for the Boston Celtics. Media Day. Thank God. That's it.
Nope.
That's it.
Nope.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting so long. Finally, that horrendous offseason is over. We get to talk. We got a game on Sunday? Sunday. Coming right up. We are off to the races, thank God. I couldn't be happier. I mean, I've got the giggle fits. I'm so happy, John.
I can't. I don't even know. You guys. I don't even know. Oh, Justin. I just want to say this. Everyone who's listening right now, just be glad. Just be glad. You didn't have to experience the last 15 minutes. All right? Just be glad that I took one for you. All right? You're welcome. That's a little early again.
It was great. Your internet stinks. I had to entertain myself somehow while you got it together. But I came unraveled. Anyway, I really am excited. And, yeah. This is the worst start to a show ever. But here's what I'll say. There isn't a lot to get from Media Day. A couple of nuggets stand out. Number one, Jalen, if you're going to take the top off, you got to take the beard off. It doesn't look right. I love Jalen, and I actually really loved, the high top. But the beard is kind of scraggly for the buzz cut. I think you got to go fully clean shaven, which I think he'd look good. But I liked the high top. And then speaking of hair, Shemi Ojale, dude, love the dreads on him. Yeah, he looks mean.
He looks good.
And a little crazy. He looks mean and a little crazy.
I'm not into the braids on Smart, I will say, but I like the look on Jalen. I like that. I like that. Mix it up, it's good. I agree. A little closer crop on the beard would probably be a good look. Right now he looks a little bit who does he look like? Who was the center for the Knicks and the Pacers? Oh my God, he was like 6'9", always. Anyway, I think it's a good look.
He should go Fu Manchu. He should trim down the sides and go Fu Manchu with a tight top, and he would look awesome and intimidating.
This is the content everyone's looking for. They're like, I want some good facial hair talk at the start of training camp. I don't want to hear about how many pounds everyone gained or lost.
Dude, we've already talked about everything there is to talk about until Sunday.
To actually see basketball. And then you know what we'll do? We'll say, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, this is the thing.
Exactly what will happen.
It's like, let's hurry up and get something. And then it's like, well, even that's not good enough. And then, we'll start the season. You know what we'll say? Well, it's just one game. Well, it's just 1 week. Well, it's just this. Well, wait for the playoffs.
Well, now it's December.
While we have
hold on. Now it's December. So, whatever just happened, that's not – now we know who the team is. Right? We've got to get 20 games into the season before if they get a tough start, no big deal. If they get out to a hot start, no big deal. We don't really know who this team is until December. Of course, then we've got the January doldrums, right? There's always a letdown with this team right around the holidays. Mm-hmm. Then there's the All-Star break. And that's typically when we really – honestly, though, the All-Star break is when you know who the team is. They'll get position for the playoffs based on how well they play after the All-Star break. That's where they firm it all up. But by the All-Star break, if they're, a 1 through 3 seed, if they're more like the 4 through 6, or if they're at the very bottom playing for a playoff spot. That's usually how that goes.
I know, but, I think, this is the year. I'm not going to wish away the good stuff, because last year was so poopy on so many levels, right? Like it sucked, man. It was not fun. And like even the smallest things were just painful, right? Like this is a year I'm just going to enjoy everything for what it is, and like every game that's a win, awesome. I'm not going to be in hell if there's a loss because I don't have this like undead situation, which happened with Kyrie Irving, and when Kyrie came to the fore, it kind of I don't know if you saw his press conference, but it sucked, man. That was no fun. I know he took
You
it
mean with the
personally.
Nets?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I've had enough of him. I don't see. You had to go and you had to take the silly out, and you just had to reach inside my
Well,
soul and bring out the angry because so listen, I do not want to make light of anybody's loss.
right.
Okay,
Sure.
I
Sure.
do not. But that man just espouses verbal rhea to no end.
Yeah.
Like I believe that that's real, that he struggled with that, but he just he just comes up with garbage, total garbage all the time. I cannot believe him. I don't think it's fair to say that that's the reason then he admits that he gave up on his teammates, right? And blames the youth again. He's just a walking excuse machine who's totally full of it. He is 100% full of it. And then basically telling the world that he's the next, oh, I'm the guy they're passing the mantle to. I'm the guy that, dude, enough. In the one breath, you can't sit there and say, oh, I let everybody down because of what happened, because my grandfather's passing. And then in the other breath, blame the youth. And then in the other breath, say, I'm the next man up. It's just he's so wacky, dude. I just can't even take it anymore. I'm so glad he's gone. And to your point, I love the youth. So I'm pumped to see young players playing. One young player, I'm just going to segue right out of him because I'm just not. From this day forward, I will not use Kyrie's name on this show. Like, I'm committing that was the last time I said it. That's it.
Okay. Well, we
Not
need to.
talking about it.
I'm going to talk about it for a little bit here, just to like
Ugh.
he. Okay, Friday they had their media day, right? And let's just lay this out. He says, obviously I failed as a leader, and I appreciate that, right? As a Celtics fan, I appreciate the fact he owned up to the fact that he sucked. He could have owned up in March. He could have owned up in April. He could have owned up in July when he signed with the Nets. He could have done it any of those times. He didn't. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm moving on with that. But then what he did is he explained what happened last year, and he's like, I'm in good mood. Everything's great. And then my grandfather dies. And I felt like there's a part of that where he's blaming, what happened here on his passing and his grandfather, which I think is not great. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt there. He's not skillful with the way of the words. I think we've understood that in the 2 years Kyrie was here. And then he goes on to talk about how he basically shut everybody out and everything from that point on. And while he maintained connections with Danny and Wick, it didn't happen. And I defended him all last year, right? I came on this show. I'm like, no, we got to take him at his word. I went on with Nick. Nick and I did a show where Nick was ripping him up and down, and I defended him. And I was like, no, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. The media, they spin this thing. Not the local media. I'm not saying the guys that we all know and love. I'm talking about the national media, the whole KD, Kyrie thing from the All-Star game. I mean, all this stuff was spinning, and Rich Paul was spinning his stuff, and it was just the Celtics were caught in it, and they couldn't get out of it. But at no point in that did Kyrie say, I'm hurting, I want to be home, I want to be with my family. And on February 1st, he says, ask me July 1st, right? That's the moment he should have gone to Danny Ainge and said, Danny, I'm not coming back here. Wick, I'm not coming back here. It's all he had to do. That's all he had to do. And instead, what happened is the Celtics lost him for nothing. They ended up trading Terry Rozier and all this, and who knows what happens. But to me, he had an opportunity there to make it right. He clearly had checked out. He clearly wanted to be with his family. He clearly wanted to be somewhere else. We know that he had conversations with Spencer Dinwiddie as early as December about wanting to be there. So he could have been upfront and honest. Instead, he obfuscated, he blamed, he pointed fingers. He looked at say, oh, it's the youth, it's this, it's that. It's very rarely me. And as a result,
you're still in the anger phase of grieving.
Yeah, you're damn right I am.
But see, I've already gone through all that.
Yeah, but it's different.
I was months ahead of you.
Now he's owned up on it. Yeah, but so what? You don't get a medal for it, man.
Yeah, but we can't keep talking about it.
He talked about it. I'm not bringing it up. He's saying this is new information. You might be over it, but he said this is what happened. We actually know what happened now from his words.
No,
that's important.
No,
it's
we don't
important
know. Because this is what I'm telling you. It's all bull. It's all bull. We don't We don't know anything new except he's got a new story of bull. He's got a new plate of bull that he's serving up until people stop asking him. And guess what? People are never going to stop asking him as long as he keeps serving up the bull.
Well, because it's stupid. It's a stupid story. You know, if that's your story, it's horrendous. It's dumb. It makes no sense. You know, if that's
on to the next stupid story. This is what I'm saying. He's pathologically. I just can't even take it anymore. I can't even take it anymore.
Entirely possible. I agree. I think that's entirely possible. I'm just saying there is new information. He's actually talking about this. He hasn't talked about this. He's talking about it now, and what he's laying out is insane. And no doubt he has behind the scenes. He's shown himself to be insane. In snippets about other things, he's shown himself to be insane. But his stuff that he's saying here about why he chose to go elsewhere, to me, he's like, oh, I was close with Danny and Wick. But then he goes on to basically say, but I didn't care about him enough to tell him I wanted out. That to me is what gets me out of all this. I'm a leader. Those guys suck, but just listen to me. But
I only care about influencers who can influence because they're at the top of the echelon. I don't care about the pawns. That's what he's saying. And that's why he's not a leader, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah. No,
and that's why he keeps coming up with it, espousing new tales of baloney.
Yeah, maybe so. I just all I'm saying is, I guess, that we know what his story is now. What he's putting down on paper is this is what I am. All right. Before it was what we thought he was. Now we know what he is. He's putting his best foot forward, supposedly, and it's pretty clear the Emperor has no clothes.
Yep.
And
goodbye.
And we get to root extensively against him when the Brooklyn Nets come to town. So I
have to have this conversation when the Brooklyn Nets come back to town.
Oh, it's going to happen.
I don't want to.
Well, listen, this is the worst
media day intro ever.
No, this is the worst. Look, we can't ignore the fact that Kyrie, his situation is a huge impact to this team. I mean, you could argue that his impact is on par. I know you're hating this. But his impact negatively is as much as anyone that's played for the Celtics in 40 years. We can't ignore that. It's real. It sucks, but it's real. And it impacts what happens from this day forward and how they now want to say we want a fresh start. And that's what the message was all today at Media Day. And I think we can all say thank God for that.
Okay, then this conversation's in the past. From here on out, you cannot say the name, but you can say Follow Celtics Stuff Live on Twitter at CSL_tweetlive, as well as your hosts at CSL_Justin and at CSL_Duke. The entire CLNS Media Network at CLNS Media. Facebook.com/CLNS fans, and download the CLNS Media app for iOS and Android. Simply search CLNS Media in your app marketplace. YouTube.com/CLNS Media for high definition, full-length locker room interviews in less than a week, and the Garden Report. That's right. That's right. And football season is back, and now you can get into the game with our exclusive sports betting partners, betonline.ag. Sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit and make your bets on your favorite professional or college team. Every spread, every total, every winner or loser, Kyrie, straight bet parlay or tease your way through the season. Will Mahomes throw for 56 touchdowns? Can the Pats go undefeated? Those things are still on. Bet on all of this with the fastest odds, updates, and payouts with our new sportsbook partners, betonline.ag. Head over to betonline.ag or use your mobile device to join today and use promo code CLNS50 to receive your 50% welcome bonus. Get into all the action today with betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, we're moving on, and I'm talking about Robert Williams. I'm not even going to let that thing sink back to where we just were for the last 15 minutes. Robert Williams, this is probably the biggest report. I know we heard a little bit about it where they said Robert Williams might have been the hardest working guy during the offseason, at least hanging around the Celtics Auerbach Center, but he's working out with Hayward, long hours. And what I really love about that is I feel like he's working on the intelligent aspects of the game. And that's really what he needs. More than anything, he's got the athleticism, but it's just making the smart read, making the smart play. And that's why we brought Hayward in, right? Not just all of the not just all of the scoring and the playmaking and the talent that he had on the floor. But part of the reason they brought him in is they knew he would accept second or third fiddle sometimes, maybe even fourth fiddle, depending on how things are going. A team player, smart basketball guy, almost like a second coach in a lot of ways. You know, the same way that Marcus Smart is the captain. He's going to always have the energy. He's always going to make the hustle play. And you need these guys in different roles like that. And this is great. Mentorship during the offseason, I love it.
I think that Robert Williams, the Time Lord, in 2 years could be the Dime Lord. I think that the type of stuff we saw from him, hanging around this summer puts him in a spot where I think his offense is ahead of his defense. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but his passing that he showed at Summer League was great. I mean, really kind of seeing the floor. I mean, he's not Al Horford. No one's making that comparison. But with what we have for a big man rotation right now, he's clearly the best. I think he's already the best passer. I'm not putting Grant Williams in that mix, but I think he's already the best passer of those five guys without counting Taco Fall. And, if he can figure out how to set screens and roll a little bit and figure that aspect of the game out now, I think he's going to play. I don't think he's like I think he's a useful appendage on the offensive end. What I worry about is defensively. And can he figure out an appendage? You're laughing.
Oh my God, I was muted.
Think what I worry
about, I'm dying over here about appendage. That was great.
What I worry about is defensively. Like, can he figure out where to be? Can he figure out not get nicked? Thanks, Manscaped.
Free plug.
Free plug for the Manscaped folks. Oh man, you don't want to get nicked on that one. So anyway, what I worry about is the defense, right? And I don't know how you get better at that in the summer. Watch a lot of film, play a lot. I don't know, but that end of the game, if he can show himself to be competent on that end, not just block a whole bunch of shots, but really, as you said, quarterback the situation. That to me is what it's all about with him. He needs to be a better defender than an offensive player. I think for him to play and play a lot. And if he can do that with the core they have, I think the Celtics can look at their entire team a lot differently. There's a lot less stress on Jaylen Brown to be traded. There's a lot less stress on forcing guys to play out of position. There's a lot less stress on, trying to get Enes Kanter to defend at levels, that he only did for a small spell there in Portland last year. So everything becomes easier if the Time Lord can take the next step. But we won't know until we actually can watch a little basketball. And, thankfully that'll happen this week.
I'm just excited, yes, not only for them to play, but I want to see some of the other guys kind of get into the mix, like Hayward, who were not playing with Team USA. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. One of the things I liked about Tatum, going a little bit away from the mid-range, more three, and more attack the rim. And we saw him get that aggressive during Team USA. It's great to hear him reiterating that now. Let's just hope he stays healthy. And then one of the things that Brad said, that this is probably, and you and I started talking about this before our conversation devolved before we went on the air, but the small lineups, and Brad saying there are some lineups that we think could be really incredible defensively. And I think a lot of it has to do with the switching. It has to do with that small death lineup, whatever you want to call it, that you and I have been discussing for the last several shows and that everybody else has been kind of looking at. But one of the things that makes that so doable is the depth that they have. Typically, when you're trying to run out a small lineup, especially with wings who aren't really super small, right? I mean, they're only giving up 4 or 5 inches. It's not like everybody is 6'4", 6'3" small lineups. Some of those Celtics small lineups with Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley were really small. We're not talking about that small. We're just saying no center and maybe a leaner power forward out there versus a bulky power forward. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that most teams can't do that is because wings are at a premium and they don't have the depth. And they need some of those wings to come off of the bench to be able to give rest, for the starting caliber players. Now, I know you're going to spin this into the defensive stats with Hayward, Brown, and Tatum, and we'll get to that in a second. But the point being that even with Langford, who apparently has a completely healthy thumb, surgery's done, worked on the three-point shot, kind of underrated in the offseason because we didn't see him at Summer League, very little talked about even on this show. But then you have somebody like Semi Ojeleye. They have the depth to run that small switchable lineup. They have players that they can pull in to give that. And honestly, you might only really need Semi Ojeleye and some minutes from Enes Kanter to pull it off. You might not even need to go to Romeo Langford. But if you're developing a player like that, a player that was the first pick for the Celtics in the first round at number 16, and you want him to get minutes, and this is a little bit of a development year or an experimental year, and you like the switchability of these kinds of lineups, why not? Why not try it? Why not experiment with it? Why not give some minutes to Langford? Because if you don't do that, it's hard to see him even get on the floor this season.
Yeah, so Brad made a comment that he felt like defense was going to be a priority, and he feels really good about some of the lineups. Yeah,
nothing new
that you can throw out there. And I made the comment to that. Jake King kind of tweeted it, and I commented or replied back to it and just said, that seems to me to indicate that maybe they're moving away from Jalen, Tatum, and Brown and Hayward together. And Jay said, "Brah, no." Okay, he didn't actually say "brah," but he would if he was talking to me. He basically said, "No, actually there's some of the best lineups." And Max Lissette, who is LISSMX14, kind of responded and said, "Actually, you moron, John Duke," left out the you moron, John Duke part from January 1st to the end of the season.
It was implied.
Yeah, right. I felt it. When Hayward, Brown, and Tatum played together, they only played together for 169 minutes, and it was only in 25 games. But their O rating was 160, and their defensive rating was 94.6, a net rating of 21.6. With small sample size, but very encouraging. So what does that mean? It means they were damn good together. So John doesn't know what he's talking about. Still, I do say I worry about the defense of that group. I worry about the rebounding with that group. and not having a legit 4-man who can grab boards. Now, if Time Lord can figure out how to grab boards at a higher rate than he has thus far in his NBA career, that would be a huge plus. If Kanter plays with him,
He
that
was
opens
only a
up some
rookie
defensive
too.
issues.
Only
Right,
a
and it hurt a lot.
Yep.
He was hurt a lot. So there's some opportunities there. Who knows what we're going to get from the big baguette, Poirier. There's a lot of, and maybe they go small if they can find some way to get rebounding. I question the rebounding. I worry about the rebounding with this group. I don't know that they
Kanter's
have
the
enough
only
guys
one,
who
and
can
it's
do it.
always been an issue.
Yep.
Rebounding's always been an issue. That's why Kanter on such a deal is so key for them, because if they really, it is, let's make a deal. Danny made a deal. This is amazing. Money wise, it's amazing. It definitely addresses a need. If the rest of the team can kind of pull together the defense when he's out there and be adequate, and then they have a real inside-out game with a banger who can get second chance opportunities, the net rating could still be really good, even if Kanter's not great defensively, even if he's somewhat subpar. If he's grabbing offensive rebounds and they're putting the second chance opportunities through the net, that's gonna help. It'll come in the plus minus, not necessarily the net rating, right? But it'll, because of the way that the possessions are weighting it. But in the plus minus, which is sometimes a deceiving stat, in the plus minus, he could be a positive if he just goes and grabs those offensive rebounds in those shooting slumps, which is another time to put him out there. If they're shooting like crazy and everybody's knocking down shots, you don't need a rebounder in there as much. And defensively, if they're struggling a little bit, but they're putting big effort and they're switching and they're getting enough stops, maybe it's not stellar defense and they're not always, maybe they're giving up a few second chance opportunities. Even on, where you get killed on a second chance opportunity, it's the mismatch, which is precisely why the fact that them being switchable will help negate some of that. Do you want other teams getting an offensive rebound and having a second chance? No, not at all. But if they're not going to catch you out of position with that second chance off the rebound because everybody is technically in position, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you are in pretty good shape. No, that's true. And I think if you're the offensive juggernaut that Brad Stevens seems to have never been offensive juggernauts, but they've always been much better defensively than they should be. If this team has plenty of potential to be a really good offensive team, we'll see if they can actually meet that standard. But I wonder, Brad today said that last season reinforced everything he long thought about the game of basketball, as a quote from today. And to me, that talks about him kind of going back to his roots, going back to who he was, going back to who the team was, revisiting the culture, revisiting who we all thought the Celtics were under Brad Stevens. And that was one of the most hopeful things that I saw today. It has nothing to do with how many pounds this guy got or how. This is all about outlook and view and what am I going to accomplish, and to hear Brad say, look, last year just said, like, I got to go back to basics. We talked about what his outlook about this is really about the city and about being hardworking. And then you have situations like Jaylen Brown, who says, I don't have any expectations, just hoop, just play basketball. And that's a dude that's got multi-million dollars. He's got 9 figures on the line this season. And he's going to start the season with that type of comment. That's the mindset. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make one basket. It doesn't get one rebound. It doesn't get one box out. None of that. Doesn't rotate. None of that. But it's a sign of people at least saying the right things. Now, people said the right things last year. The question is, will they do them? But I feel like everyone, those players probably heard enough from their friends from over the summer of sitting and watching other dudes play ball a lot longer and knowing they should have been the ones playing and knowing that the Raptors won and the Celtics had the talent, quite frankly, to do it themselves.
Okay.
Booyah.
That's a good close. I know what I want to talk about in the outtakes, so I'm going to take us there.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, this broadcast will be available on demand on the CLNS Media mobile app. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at CSL_Justin and at CSL_Duke. Our heartfelt thank you to everybody for tuning in. And remember that you can help support the show by subscribing to Celtic Stuff Live on iTunes and Stitcher. We'd love it if you gave us a rating and review because your feedback is important to the show. And for staff writer Samuel Elias, executive producer Larry H. Russell, the founder of CLNS Media, Nick Gelso, and my co-host John Duke, I'm Justin Poulin. John, let me finish. Thank you for listening.
Why did I do that?
Edition of Celtic Stuff Live.
Celtic Stuff Live.
No, I won't do bad. The whole outtakes, I promise. Maybe a little. So, no, not at all. Here's what I want to talk about. And I know it's kind of a silly one, but when we talk about the re-emerging culture, that's another big win. We talked about Enes Kanter being able to plop in, maybe for rebounding and do all of that. But from a culture standpoint, keeping things lighthearted, could they not have used a joker a little bit last season? Could they not have used somebody to just, kind of pull everybody's heads out of their proverbial butts throughout the season? But here's what I'm going to say. He passes out cookies today, right, to the media before his press conference. I'm not going – this is going to be a good one. This is not a silly one. I'm not
going after you. I'm just shaking my head at Enes Kanter. But go ahead. Yeah.
I think that he is going to be one of the media favorites like Evan Turner. Remember, Evan Turner was fun. He was lighthearted. Everybody liked being around him. He was a great glue guy. That I think Enes Kanter is going to do the same kind of thing for this club. I think he could be one of the more media popular players since Evan Turner.
I think you could be right, and that doesn't, for me, that doesn't necessarily mean it isn't necessarily a good thing.
Why? I saw your face while I was bringing it up, and you're already down on Kanter.
I'm so over Enes Kanter at this point.
Why?
I just the self-promotion.
You're the pea in my lemonade today.
The self-promotion of Enes Kanter is just a little much. Maybe you're out of the area, so you don't see as much of this as I do, but he is extremely online, and I appreciate the shade he throws Kyrie Irving's way. See how I said that name that you didn't want to hear?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. But he is. I just the self-promotion it rings so hollow. I'm not a fan of it at all. And if the media want to use him as the go-to, I think that would be at their peril. I mean, suppose he's a good locker room guy, and the media love him, and he's great for a quote, but he's a little too. I like guys that say little and do a lot, So we'll see. We'll see. I'm just not a fan of his at all. I want
only because of the self-promotion lately, or because
lately
you've
been summer.
But that's what I mean.
Friggin' summer.
Before he became a Celtic, you didn't care. Is my point.
I thought he was annoying. I thought, well, and look, I think he's standing up for the right. Turkey's a complete mess, and Erdogan and all. I mean, I support all of that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not all for the totalitarian regime there in Turkey. All I'm saying is, I feel like he is very much about Enes Kanter, and I really don't need to see more pictures of him giving out his jersey to SE Cup or Ed Markey or some other freaking. I mean, it's over, man. Just play basketball. I mean, I'm not saying shut up and dribble, but this goes beyond Evan Turner. Evan Turner was like, oh, we're having a media event. Hey, I'm going to give you a cool thing to quote. That's cool. Creating events every day, multiple events, It's a little.
Well, that'll be different once the season gets started.
Let's hope. Because
No, it can't go on. You just can't possibly organize that and still commit to basketball and travel.
I just like him to be a little less. The person I want to hear talk is Brad Stevens. I don't want to hear Enes Kanter. I don't want to hear what Enes Kanter's thoughts are. I want to hear him play basketball, talk about basketball. And if he has a moment every once in a while, sure, absolutely, talk about his homeland and try to get that changed. Like, I'm all support that fully. He's got to use that, but like, this is more about promotion of Enes Kanter. How many workout videos have we seen of him online this summer? Like, it's endless. I'm ready for basketball Enes Kanter, and I'm hoping that's a better version than online Enes Kanter that I've seen from the last 4 months. Did I just pee in your Cheerios? You looked very disappointed. I did. Oh no. Did you mute yourself?
Yes.
Oh my God. Wow.
I hate you today.
Oh no. Sorry.
John, you're a Debbie Downer.
I'm telling you.
Oh,
You're going to be there with
I can't believe it's media day and you and I are so dissonant. I get it over the summer when we're getting squirrely and there's nothing to talk about, but this is like media day is fluff day. This is a day when you and I are always happy. It's like Christmas. Finally, we're going to have some basketball. Are there any major takeaways from today? No, there are never takeaways from today. Never get crazy watching all the videos. It's just good to see people back. Good to see them in unis, knowing that they're going to be practicing. And again, on Sunday, we're going to see them play basketball, and that's great. Yeah. But you, my friend, are in a raunchy mood.
I might be.
You are.
I might be.
I had a long day too. We
chose Kyrie.
We chose two paths after a really long and difficult Monday at work, and you went sour grapes, and I went super silly, and the two of us came together and made some really spoiled ass wine. Oh my God!
People are gonna love listening to this.
And if you're still listening,
you do it.
I'll do it.
You do it.
You're welcome.
No. Friggin' A. Oh, shoot.